Playwright Anton Chekhov famously said, "Never place a loaded rifle on stage if it isn't going to go off." In other words, every detail must be relevant, and every setup should have a payoff. Thus, the narrative principle of Chekhov's gun was born. But it isn't always a gun. Chekhov's Whatever is a podcast where myself and guests watch a movie and try to predict what role Chekhov's gun will play. Welcome to Chekhov's Whatever. Hello and welcome to Chekhov's Whatever, the podcast that makes a game of movies and storytelling. I'm your host, Meg Mazeski. Here with me today to talk about the 2025 supernatural horror film, Good Boy, is Ryan Hanna. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan.
Thank you, Meg. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome to your first podcast ever.
That's true. This is my first podcast ever. Uncharted territory for me.
The only credentials you need to have is having watched a movie in the past.
Okay, well, check. It's a brief list, but I think I got it covered.
Perfect. So I was Ryan's boss for a while, and then he was my boss. Then he fired me, and now we're friends.
Yeah, that's a good summary. I just couldn't stand you. Yeah.
I think that about sums it up, yeah.
It does, yeah. But for the record, you were very good at your job. It was not my choice. It was just a layoff, one of those corporate bullshittery things that happens.
I get it. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Well, like you mentioned, we've been friends for a long time. I've been working in tech for a while. I kind of write as a hobby. I know that you have a lot of people on the show that, write with a capital W and have podcasts and stuff. That's not me. I'm far less interesting. But extra credit, I've seen way more than one movie.
Oh, good.
So I think I'm beyond qualified to participate here.
All right, so we are here to talk about Good Boy. This is a 2025 supernatural horror film. A loyal dog moves to a rural family home with his owner, only to discover supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. As dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fight to protect the one he loves. This movie is directed by Ben Leonberg. This was his first feature-length film, and the movie stars his very own dog, Indy, playing himself, Indy. Also starring Shane Jensen and Ariel Friedman. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 90% critic score and an 82% audience score. Also, not to be confused with the 2022 horror film, also titled Good Boy, about a man who acts and dresses like a dog.
Quite a bit different?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, what were your expectations for this movie? I know that you are an animal lover.
I am.
Are you a horror film lover as well?
Yeah, I don't really go in for horror all that often. It's a little hard for me to take horror seriously.
Mm-hmm.
There's exceptions, of course. There's some horror films that I really liked. Weapons was really great.
Yes.
Recent film. But yeah, I was very interested about this when I first read about it. And I heard about the film before you even talked to me about the podcast. But I love the concept. I think it's great. I loved Indy. Definitely the star of the show.
Yes.
Clearly a good boy in real life.
A very good boy.
Yeah. And I think you have to commend Leonberg for the technical achievement behind it. It's a really interesting concept. And yeah, Indy wasn't like a trained actor. This was his first foray on film. And so I think there was some difficulty in like organizing some of the shots, but he pulls it off and it's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, no formal training as a dog actor. The director trained him completely himself as his very own dog. Like you, I was very intrigued by the concept. I am a horror movie fan, but I've seen so many horror films that what I'm most interested in are the films that play with genre tropes and conventions of the genre. So right away, I could tell that this movie was playing with the genre. Having the dog as the POV character is certainly a novel concept. I was on board as soon as I saw the first teaser trailer, but then once I know I want to watch a movie, I kind of stop ingesting information about it until I see it. My main question going into the movie was, is this concept going to be sustainable for a whole movie, or will it be too gimmicky? The runtime is very short. It's only 73 minutes. That was encouraging for me. I was like, I think that's about as long as you can sustain this premise.
Yeah, I think that's right too. But yeah, and small budget too.
Yes.
$70,000 to make the whole film. And I think it's like close to 9 million on its run. So
that was something that attracted me to the film too. It's a real Cinderella story. Exactly as you said, a $70,000 budget. It was initially just going to have a limited theatrical release, but because of great early reception, it was given wide theatrical release. So it's always nice to see a little independent movie hit it big.
Totally. It kind of, watching it, And I guess in light of its success, it has sort of a Blair Witch Project vibe
Mm,
for me.
that's a good comparison.
My hot take, though, is that I don't think the Blair Witch Project is that good, and it's not very scary. I'd much
Gasp.
rather watch a dog run around on screen, and we got to do that for a little over an hour, so it was perfect.
We did, yeah. So before we get into the movie proper, if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that there's always spoilers. So I'm going to say a big spoiler at the top that you might want to hear. The dog does not die.
Thank God.
Yes. So feel free to watch the movie. Feel free to listen to this podcast. Don't worry, the dog is fine.
He comes out okay.
Yes. So here's a quick overview of how Chekhov's Whatever works. This is a podcast where myself and the guest watch and review a movie that's new to us. We also play a game where we try to guess what Chekhov's gun will be and how it will play out later in the movie. Chekhov's gun is a plot element that must have a setup and a payoff. That setup usually happens in Act 1, and the payoff typically comes later in Act 3. A Chekhov's gun is also typically a concrete item, action, or person rather than something symbolic or thematic. And finally, a Chekhov's gun should move the plot forward. We get 2 points if we correctly identify a Chekhov's gun. We also get an additional point if we correctly guess how that Chekhov's gun will pay off. And finally, we lose 1 point if we incorrectly identify a Chekhov's gun and its role. Whoever has the most points at the end of the movie wins.
Easy peasy.
In our opening scene, we meet our dog-tagonist, Indy, as played by Indy, who is a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever. Have you ever heard of this dog breed before?
Never in my life, but he's fucking adorable.
He is so cute. As they point out in the movie, he looks very foxy. He's got this coppery red fur and a white cap on his tail. Very cute dog.
Yeah, little white socks too.
Yes.
And his feet, yeah.
Indy is startled awake one night when he sees his owner, Todd, played by Shane Jensen, unresponsive, blood dripping from his mouth. Todd's sister, Vera, played by Ariel Friedman, arrives in time to call for help, but Indy remains perturbed by some unseen presence.
Right off the jump, I got a Chekhov's whatever for you.
Let's hear it.
So, like the very first frame of the film is on a TV with static, just static on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that I'd been interested in seeing this movie for a little while when I read about it. And I didn't watch any trailers, I didn't read any spoilers, but I did read up a little bit about Leonberg, because that's usually like a pretty good indicator if I like a movie, is if the director's done other projects that I've enjoyed. And he hasn't really done much. Sounds like his background was in marketing, and he's done a couple of like short films, but this was his first feature length, as you mentioned. But anyway, he mentioned that part of his inspiration for making Good Boy was a rewatch of Poltergeist.
Yes.
And Poltergeist is one of my cherished horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it a dozen times, watched it when I was a little kid and was probably legitimately traumatized. But
yeah, that clown.
Oh my God. Everything too. And the
Everything.
trees,
Yeah.
Oh my God, the whole thing. But anyway, Leonberg's, his big takeaway from rewatching Poltergeist was that dogs tend to perceive supernatural stuff before humans do, or maybe in just a way that they aren't capable of. And so I guess that's what sparked his imagination for this. And if anybody hasn't seen Poltergeist, I think it's definitely worth a watch. There's a number of scenes that are genuinely frightening.
Yes.
And it's well acted, well performed. And in my opinion, kind of sets the bar for suburban haunted house flicks. So anyway, tying it back to the TV. So in Poltergeist, the premise is you have this kind of typical American suburban family who lives in a house that is, of course, built on top of a Native American burial ground, which, if you're making a haunted house movie in the 80s, that's like a trope you have to use. And so throughout the film, the family's little girl, Carol Ann is her name, she spends all this time sitting in front of the TV with the static, talking to it, because that's where the TV people are, the evil entities that are sort of haunting the house. And eventually, the driving action for the entire film is that little sweet Carol Ann gets sucked into the TV, into this evil spirit dimension that she's been communing with, and her family is trying to desperately get her out of it. And so I'm putting two and two together here. My first Chekhov's whatever is Chekhov's TV static.
Nice.
And while it's perfectly plausible that Leonberg is just paying a little bit of homage to Poltergeist, I'm banking on him steering into it. And the TV static is going to pop back up as a portal to the netherworld, or this evil dimension that is inhabiting the house that Todd and Indy find themselves in.
Love it. I think that's a great guess. So this is our first look at Indy as an actor. What were your initial impressions, besides being adorable?
He is adorable. He is adorable. I mean this unironically. He is very expressive. Like for a dog in particular, he
Mhm.
actually has some like emotion behind his behaviors. Yeah, and I mean they give him a lot of like, he's the point of view character throughout the entire film, so you get a lot of close-up looks at him. But like he is sort of acting in a way. It's like sort of shocking to see, but very cute, very good dog, very expressive.
Absolutely. I have to admit that my very, very first impression, I thought, oh no. And I was a little afraid about how the entire movie would go because as soon as Indy first wakes up, I thought it was pretty clear that he was looking at someone out of frame. And it felt a little obvious to me. And I was like, oh no, is it going to be really obvious throughout the whole movie that this dog is taking cues from off screen? But then as soon as he looked at the telephone, the ringing phone, I felt that it seemed like a very intelligent, sort of natural reaction to be like, oh, the phone's
Hmm.
ringing. So immediately after that first second or two, I was back in. And from that point on, it flowed really naturally for me. I don't think I ever got that impression again that he was just reacting to a cue, which obviously he was throughout the movie,
Right.
but it felt less inauthentic throughout the rest of the movie for me.
What? How would you do it, Meg? How are you going to get your dog to follow your cues?
I mean, yeah, I'm not a dog training expert. You mentioned how emotive Indy looks, and I do definitely agree with that, but I also think it's very clever editing. There's this editing technique known as the Kuleshov effect. I guess I only reference Russian filmmakers and playwrights in this show.
You got your niche.
Lev Kuleshov, for whom this technique is named after, basically he said that viewers derive more or different meaning from the interaction of two sequential shots rather than from a single shot in isolation. So, for example, in this movie, if we see a shot of a creepy shadow man lurking in the halls, and then we juxtapose that with a picture of Indy, in reality, the dog might have a rather blank expression, but because we can draw the parallel between the creepy shadow man and the very next image, which is a dog, we think and we project upon the dog our fear, and we're like, oh, the dog looks scared. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Also, I have to give kudos to the sound design. I think the sound design does a lot of heavy lifting. I'm sure that 90% of post-production was adding little whines and
Yeah,
whimpers,
totally.
which really helps sell it as well.
Yeah, that seems to be so. That's the one gripe I'll make against Indy's acting. His range seems a little limited. He tends to whimper a lot.
No real tears.
No, exactly. Well, he's clearly an amateur, but I don't know. He's still dark horse contender for the Academy Award for Best Actor.
I'd vote for him if I were on the
He did
Academy.
too. They should do it. They should do it. If they're not fucking cowards, they'll do it. It'd be good for film.
Yeah. In the next scene, we get a video montage of Indy and Todd's life together from when Indy was an adorable little puppy up until the present when Todd is discharged from the hospital after being treated for some unspecified ailment. Possibly lung cancer, probably lung cancer, not sure.
Mhm.
I think that this is a clever little thing too. The dog doesn't know what's wrong with Todd, right? So why should the audience know what's wrong with Todd?
That's a fair point. And that comes up quite a bit. There's a lot of, we only get Indy's perspective. And I think there's like certain times when it's like a little unsatisfying because you don't
Yes.
get like the full narrative explanation for things, but it's okay. Indy's a star. So something I really liked about that sequence was how they took all of this, like these videos and this imagery of Indy and his owner in the past, and then the final scene in that tableau is the scene that winds up being the background on Todd's phone. I thought that was really cute.
That was clever, yeah. Another thing I liked about that montage is that there's a clip from an Indiana Jones movie. I'm not sure which one, but as soon as I saw that the dog's name was Indy, I couldn't help but think of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when Sean Connery says, "We named the dog Indiana." So I have to assume that this Indy is also named after Indiana Jones.
Good catch. Good catch.
We cut to Todd and Indy on their way to Todd's late grandfather's home deep in the woods. Because what could go wrong in a cabin in the woods in a horror movie?
That was so peaceful, serene.
Yeah. Indy sees a strange shadowy figure and is reluctant to enter the home, especially when he hears another dog howl forlornly from the basement. This is my first guess. Chekhov's ghost dog?
Okay. Not, hold on, to clarify, not Forrest Whitaker in the basement training to be a samurai. This is an actual canine spirit.
Yes, in this case, I think it's an actual canine spirit. I think that this phantom dog will help Indy defeat the evil presence somehow.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure how in this moment, but that is my guess.
Benevolent ghost dog. I like it. I have a Chekhov's whatever here as well. Not the ghost dog,
Hmm.
but the basement itself, the basement door in particular.
I also have Chekhov's basement.
Okay, we're both right in with Chekhov's basement.
So what is your prediction for Chekhov's basement?
So I'm already hedging my bets on the TV static, which I wound up doing several times throughout the course of the film. But I think the basement is where the bad guys are. And I don't think there's actually a ghost dog. I think this is just a mean trick that whatever evil entity or entities are inhabiting the house are trying to use to lure Indy into the basement
I
so they
see.
can do whatever it is that they're going to do in their weird evil being world.
Very good guess.
Thank you.
So my prediction for how Chekhov's basement will come back is that Indy will find this ghost dog's body in the basement as well as many other bodies. So I'm drawing on, like you were saying in the Poltergeist movie, other ghost movie tropes. So I think that this haunting of this house will be resolved when the bodies are found, because often spirits in these type of stories find peace once their remains are laid to rest, essentially. So I think that these spirits will end up being not actually malevolent, but just wanting to find their final rest. And once Indy finds their bodies, he will help them to pass on.
Now, are these all dog bodies or are there humans?
I think there's going to be human bodies as well. I think there's like the one dog body and then maybe countless other bodies. Yes.
Okay, so a countless to one human body to dog body ratio.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's acceptable. It's still safe to watch.
Todd chats with his sister Vera on the phone as he watches old home videos of their granddad. Vera worries about him living out there alone, not only because of his medical condition, but also because she thinks something's not right with the home and may have somehow led to their grandfather's demise. I'm going to clock in with another Chekhov's guess.
Let's hear it.
Chekhov's old home movies.
Old home movies. Okay.
I think that the old VHS tapes will hold an important clue to how the grandfather really died. It's at this point in the movie I'm not sure how much intelligence we're supposed to believe Indy has. Like, there was one point where he looked at a text on the phone and I thought, am I meant to believe that he understands the content of that text message? And I wasn't quite sure in that moment. So with these old home movies, I'm like, okay, I'm going to say that somehow Indy is going to be able to understand the content of these videos in a way that helps to lead to discovering the mystery.
Well, if anybody can do it, Indy can do it.
Yeah, I believe in Indy. In Indy we trust.
In Indy we trust.
We get several scenes of Indy investigating strange, unsettling noises and shadowy figures lurking in the house.
Big feature of the house, there's taxidermy fucking everywhere. And they give us a good long shot of a taxidermied fox.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm clocking in with Chekhov's taxidermied fox.
Ooh.
And I think this fox is going to be reanimated by whatever evil forces are in this home. And Indy is going to have to fight this fox.
I love
Possibly with all the other taxidermied animals that are inhabiting their space.
I don't like this guess because it makes me sad that we didn't get that.
Spoiler. Jeez.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Now, we're going to come back to this because I think I have an argument to be made around the taxidermied fox, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
You know, I was this close to guessing taxidermy fox as a Chekhov's gun as well, but I couldn't think of how it would play out later.
You don't think a reanimated death fox is plausible?
I think it's totally plausible. I think it should have happened. Later, while out on a walk in the woods, they pass through a family graveyard and run into a longtime neighbor, a fox hunter who can't help but point out the parallels between Todd and Indy and his grandfather and his dog, Bandit, which was never found following the grandfather's death. This is my last Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's.
Your last one
I
for the whole
know.
film?
I feel like this is a lot for me.
Oh man, I've got a few more. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Usually the people who guess more end up winning, so I think that that's a good move on your part.
Great.
My Chekhov's gun is Chekhov's fox traps. So the neighbor mentions the fox traps. Chekhov's guns are often something as simple as like a weapon or, in this case, a trap. So my guess for how this will pay off, I'm already like, I don't see how this is going to work, but it's my best guess. I think that Indy will lure the evil presence to the fox traps and trap it. To which I ask myself, how does one trap a mysterious incorporeal presence in a physical trap? And I say, quiet me, just run with it.
Well, to be fair, you don't know that it's going to be incorporeal.
That's true. But at this point, it seemed incorporeal so far from what we'd seen, but I was running with it anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Chekhov's foxtrot. I think this one's pretty much on a T. But I'm going in a different direction. I think Indy's gonna get trapped in one of these foxtrots. I think straight out of Lassie, Timmy's down a well. Indy has to go get help, except, Todd's not trapped down a well. He's being attacked by some sort of evil thing. We don't know what it is yet. Indy's going to go run for help, and he's going to get caught in one of these traps.
Nice.
I had another Chekhov's whatever in this section. I'm like very concerned because I have like way more than you. But right before we get introduced to, and I forget the guy's name.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's Richard.
Richard? Why is he wearing like a full fucking ghillie suit to go hunt foxes? Is that like a standard thing?
That I'm glad you point that out because that was my initial reaction. But something that I noticed about this movie is that they intentionally obscure the people's faces. And I think that was just their way of obscuring this particular person's face.
Convenient way to do it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although it was a bit odd. It did take me out of the movie a little bit. I'm like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah, that's fair. And and the way they introduce him when they have him walk into frame, you kind of don't know, like, oh, is that a bad guy? Is that, some wicked thing? Nope, it's just an old man in a ghillie suit murdering foxes. That's what he does.
Like you do.
Like you do. But right before they get introduced, I think this is the same scene where Todd walks Indy towards the graveyard where his relatives are buried. So, yeah, I got Chekhov's graveyard here.
Chekhov's graveyard.
This is already my second audible on the TV static theory. I think this is it. I think it's the graveyard is full of restless souls with unresolved business and some sort of score to settle that Todd is unfortunately going to have to pay the price for. So the graveyard is my new source of evil.
Classic horror movie trope.
Exactly. Classic horror movie trope.
We also get a little bit of foreshadowing here. Todd points out in the graveyard that it contains 6 generations of his family, most of whom died young. Mysterious.
Very mysterious.
In the following scene, a storm falls upon the house, and Indy yet again whines at shadowy figures lurking in the dark. Todd admonishes him that nothing's there. We also get some scenes in the house. The TV's on. He's watching TV. There are many scenes with the TV that I would say are sort of ancillary to a trope called coincidental broadcast. So this is when any television displays a news story relevant or directly related to the current events in the movie. So even though this isn't a news source, we're seeing old films about creatures in the darkness.
Ton of old movies. It's like all Todd watches.
It's almost as if it's everything that is publicly available.
I mean, hey, you're on a shoestring.
Yeah. In particular, he is watching a movie that's about the relationship between dogs and humankind as far back as caveman times, and the movie points out that dogs often helped humans by alerting them to predators in the dark that the humans were unable to perceive. So we're getting a lot of breadcrumbs throughout background information like this, or Todd, when he was speaking on the phone with his sister Vera in this scene here, she mentions how dogs and animals can sense things that humans can't. And she asks, has Indy been acting strangely? And she even says sometimes animals can sense illness in people before they even know that they're ill.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Indy has a dream about Bandit, the grandfather's dog, who is attacked by a shadowy presence in the basement. And then we see scratches on the inside of the basement door. So in case we didn't know by now, something's fucked in the basement.
Something is very fucked.
Yes. Bandit is a cute golden retriever, and he has a red bandana collar.
Super cute golden retriever. I think it's like the film is worth a look just for the cute dogs alone, if you're into that sort of thing.
If you have a heart and like animals.
Yeah. So when Indy wakes up from his dream about Bandit, we get this kind of transition shot back into the waking hour, and we get these close-ups on photos that Todd's grandpa has with Bandit.
Yes.
And they kind of cycle through them. And they're nice photos. Like clearly Bandit was a loyal dog. And we also have this throwaway line from a little bit earlier. I think it was before this, when Vera's on the phone with Todd and she mentioned something about Bandit running away. And we have this kind of discordance because Bandit seems to be like very attached to Todd's grandfather. So what would actually drive him to run away? Maybe he didn't run away. It's possible he just disappeared somewhere. But the one thing that I really keyed in on was at the end of this transition, they give us a good look at an oil painting on the wall. And it's an image of a dog literally just disemboweling like this enormous bear.
Yes.
And I saw this picture and I got so pumped up because I was for sure this is a foreshadow. Indy is going to find whatever this terrible thing is. Todd's going to be up against the ropes and Indy's just going to snap. You know, he's got to protect his owner and he's going to fight this thing to the death. And we're going to get this like glory, super satisfying ending to this like monster that's haunting the two of them. So I got my hopes up pretty high right then and there.
I feel you. I clocked that painting too, and I was like, "Oh, yep, we've got the hero dog saving the owner."
Just a point in the film I liked. It's not a Chekhov's whatever, because I don't think Indy's going to use the painting to kill anything. He's just going to go in with the tools that nature gave him.
His adorable face.
Yes, that's right. He'll cute it to death.
He'll make puppy dog eyes at the evil presence, and
then it won't be evil anymore. It'll
exactly.
Just I was wrong. It's wrong to haunt people. I'm gonna change my ways.
Todd leaves Indy home alone one day, and when night falls, an apparition of Bandit appears before Indy. Bandit leads Indy to his old bandana lost behind a dresser, and when Indy touches it, he sees a horrible vision of shadow figures and a grasping, mud-drenched hand. Indy is startled out of the vision by heavy footsteps trudging up the stairs, but it's only Todd, home from presumably chemotherapy treatment, I think. But Indy's relief is short-lived. Todd is clearly not well. He's wheezing, exhausted, and roughly shoves Indy away from him.
So mean.
I know.
So mean.
He curses at him.
I know. He gets increasingly mean with Indy. It's too bad, because he's such a good dog.
He is such a good dog.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Indy has yet another dream vision, this time of the graveyard and an ominous figure within it. He's awoken by a thumping sound and finds Todd incoherently banging his head bloody against the basement door.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what Leonberg was going for here. I don't know. There's like, I guess maybe my perspective is sort of shaped by like more, I guess, recent horror films where there's some sort of like moral underpinning or like the point is it's our own like self-destruction or like failing as human beings that like is the real evil here. And like maybe there's something about Todd like wanting to hurt himself or being a bad guy, but he doesn't like at no point does he really seem like that bad of a guy. He's like a little angry about being sick, but he like, he cares about Indy a lot, being a little curt with him, notwithstanding. So I don't know. It's like whatever this evil thing is, it's kind of all over the place. Is it sort of psychologically tormenting people? Is it physically tormenting people? Is it just like attacking us in our dreams, like Freddy Krueger, or is it like a real physical thing that, these guys are going to have to deal with? It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, at this point in the movie, it does seem a bit incoherent. I think that at the end of the movie, it's pretty clear what's going on, but looking back at it retrospectively, it's like, well, I don't think the slamming his head against the basement door does track with what ends up happening at the end. It's like, yeah, it is a bit of a head scratcher. Like, wait, why?
Because it's in the script.
It's because it's in the script. The next day, Todd isn't any better. He's irritable and snaps at his sister on the phone. He seems to be succumbing to his illness and to the dark presence in the home, if they are, in fact, different. Meanwhile, Indy has another intense vision. Through Bandit's eyes, he sees the grandfather coughing up blood, much like Todd, and a shadowy, mud-covered figure descends upon him. Back in reality, that same shadowy man creeps up behind Indy, and we cut to black. Oh no.
Didn't like it.
No.
Didn't like it.
I realized that the cut to black was strategic so that we don't see exactly what happens to Indy, but because we don't see what happens, it's just so distressing to be like, did that poor dog get strangled? Did it get knocked over the noggin, you know?
Right.
Indy wakes up in the basement covered in mud. Todd gives him a bath, but is racked by a bloody coughing fit. This is interesting too, because also up until this point, I think we could question, is everything Indy is seeing a figment of his imagination, or is it real? And the fact that he is covered in mud, I mean, sure, dogs get covered in mud. Dogs love mud. But because of the circumstances in which this happened, that solidified for me that there is actually something going on in this house here.
Yeah, totally. And it's a fair point. I mean, dogs can go crazy too. Why not? So I'm locked in. Okay, it's a cursed house. Clearly there's something going on. There is some entity, probably lives in the basement. It's doing some fucky stuff. But I kind of don't know like what's its deal? Like what does it want? Why is it doing these things? And like it's attacking Indy, but it just leaves them all like muddied up.
Yes.
And, like, is the mud corrupted somehow, or is it just like to make things dirty? Like why not, not that I would want it to happen, but why not just like kill the dog if you're like that evil, right? Why not, drag him down into the basement and succumb him to your whims? What is going on? What's his whole thing?
Many questions. At this point in the film, I was also trying to put the pieces together with Bandit and the grandfather. And yeah, that's the thing. There's just so many questions and so many different avenues. It's like, well, did this evil entity possess the grandfather? And then the grandfather killed Bandit, because it does seem like this entity has something out for dogs for some reason. Is he just trying to get the dog out of the picture so that he can freely attack the human? I don't know. Lots of questions.
A lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of questions.
At the hospital, Todd is rejected from a clinical trial for treatment, and the doctor tells him that it's simply too late. I think that this scene reveals some of the limitations of having a dog as your point of view character. I'm like, why is Indy in the hospital? I mean, I understand emotional support animals. He's not even wearing a fakey emotional support animal vest. How did he get it into the hospital with Todd?
No, that's a great question. And it's also the most restless Indy is in the entire film.
He's
true. Like a very well-behaved, well-mannered dog. And then Todd's talking to this doctor. And like to your point, they like crop everything so you can't see their faces.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like deliberately obfuscating the dialogue between the humans. But Indy is just like thrashing around. He's like whining. He like wants to get down. I'm sure it was just like in real life when they were shooting the film, he really didn't like being in a hospital. Probably had some bad associations with veterinarians and stuff.
Oh yeah, he probably thought he was at the vet.
Probably thought he was at the vet. Yeah, maybe he was. I think it's a good choice not to involve the people as much because, like, frankly, they're not like fantastic actors. They're not. They're not bad. They're not bad, but they're fair. But I don't know. This was just kind of a scene to sort of ignore for me. It's just like a thing to not care about. I mean, I guess it's we need to know that Todd is like he's gonna be a goner, right? His illness is terminal, and like the lights are going out. But beyond that, it just felt kind of like silly to me.
I agree. I think that the intention of the scene was necessary. As you said, it illustrates that Todd is a goner. Things aren't looking good. However, it didn't give me the impression of imminent death, which I think is what this movie needed more of, was a clear linear ratcheting up of the stakes, because it's all kind of on an even keel level. It does increase in tension a bit toward the end of the movie, but I never really got this really imminent sense of you gotta act now before it's too late. And so I feel like the hospital scene was made with that intention, but not successfully so for me anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What you were saying though about how the humans are intentionally cropped at like shoulder level or lower sometimes, that was obviously intentional, not only for storytelling purposes to be from the dog's point of view, but also for practical reasons, because the director, Leonberg, was saying that often, maybe more often even than the lead actor who played Todd, Leonberg was the one on set directing the dog. He was often the body double for Todd. And in fact, in a lot of these scenes, Todd is actually the director. So it just also made practical sense to have the shot cropped so that you can't see the actor's face.
Well, fair trick.
Yep.
Fair trick. Yeah. I think by and large he pulls it off.
Yeah, I think so too. So we get some more creepy shadows, some more creepy visions of the basement. But this time, after another vision, Indy is startled awake and he watches as Todd collapses and the shadowy man looms over him ominously. The door slams shut and Indy is locked out of the room.
So one thing I noticed is that we still don't know for sure if this is one entity, but it does take on kind of some different forms. So there's like, we have like the mud covered thing. And then we have like the weird, like fleshy guy, which I thought was sort of meant to be Todd's grandpa. And then sometimes we just have like a vague shadow humanoid figure. I guess it kind of circles back to just like not being super clear around like what is going on, what is the nature of this evil, what does it really want? Is there even a way to stop it? Like what's Indy going to do here, right? Because we're kind of counting on him to save Todd.
This is actually pretty important in a horror movie, is that you're relying on the audience to suspend their disbelief, but you make it a lot easier for audiences when there is internal coherency about what the creature is, what it can do. Not always what it looks like, because sometimes that gets saved for a third act reveal. But if you are going to reveal it throughout the movie, then you would expect some sort of consistency, perhaps, unless it's John Carpenter's The Thing, in which go crazy, but
also a dog movie, if you really think about it.
Perhaps the best dog horror movie there is.
Yeah, I believe that.
Desperate to help Todd, Indy jumps out the window and runs to the neighbor's house for help, only to get caught in a fox snare.
What's up?
Here's where we put in the little bullhorn celebratory noises.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, I think that's maybe the only one I got right. Yeah. So before this big chase scene, there's another scene with Todd and ghillie suit guy. When Todd's looking for like honeysuckle or something. He's
yes,
like
it seems like he has taken a turn for trying sort of naturopath remedies. We see in the house a bunch of plants, a bunch of candles, a bunch of crystals. So yes, He is out looking for herbs to perhaps cure himself.
So that was one of my other Chekhov's Chekhov's plants.
Plants.
Yes. And this was, so there's a couple things happening here for me. So Todd gets all these plants, he brings them back to his house, but during that second meeting with Ghillie Suit Man brings up the fox traps again, just in case we forgot about them. Yes. Just to make sure they're there. But at this time, and I'm only saying this in the spirit of fairness because I want to make sure we're scorekeeping appropriately. I actually pivoted my Chekhov's fox trap implementation, and I got on your train where I thought the fox traps would be used to actually capture and somehow disembowel per the watercolor painting, the oil painting on the wall.
Yes.
And he was going to use it to kill the thing. But obviously that didn't happen.
Okay, well, we'll see when we get to scoring whether you need that extra point or not.
Yes, but I thought as part of this like weird haunted house Rube Goldberg process, the plants were going to be used as some sort of obstacle for this monster that was going to trip him up, and then Indy was going to be able to use one of these traps to snare him somehow.
I like it. He's going to Kevin McAllister the house with some plants.
That's right. Sidebar, they should really make a haunted version of Home Alone.
That would be great.
Well, what are we doing here?
Let's write a screenplay for that.
Okay, go ahead. You start.
Okay. Todd retrieves Indy from the fox trap and reprimands him by relegating him to the doghouse, which is the most Snoopy-ass doghouse I've ever seen.
Snoopy-ass doghouse is the perfect descriptor.
I wish that I could make that a Chekhov's gun somehow so I could write it in the show notes.
Well, I did have another Chekhov's whatever here. Chekhov's...
Generator?
No.
Okay.
No,
I almost said generator, but go ahead.
The generator pops up in the first act. I thought about it because it came into view so early, and they tend to be introduced in the first act. But no, it's the choke chain. Chekhov's choke chain. And I am sticking with my guns here. I am like praying for some sort of violent climax where Indy is just going to get this thing's comeuppance. He's going to use these plants to trip
Hmm.
it up. He's going to use these fox snares to destabilize it. And then he's going to use this choke chain to either choke it to death or harness him to the ground and then just rip his guts out. Like the painting,
Like
Meg.
the
It's in the
painting.
painting.
Yes. Yeah, so Indy is chained up outside and he helplessly looks on as Todd is seized by yet another violent coughing fit, which only seems to be worsening. The Shadow Man then attacks poor Indy, but Indy is able to fight him off and break free.
So one minor interruption here because I think it's important for my scorebook.
Yes,
There's a brief moment when Indy is chained outside and he's looking out into the wilderness and he sees a pair of glowing, beating eyes.
it's true.
He doesn't know what they are. He looks away, looks back, and there's a fox, Meg.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think there is a reasonable debate to be had as to whether or not this fox is a reanimated spirit of a taxidermied animal inside of Todd's grandfather's haunted house.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if you have like, I don't know what you do in these situations, if you have like an impartial judge weigh in or if I get the benefit of the doubt as the guest, but
Perhaps we could poll our cats during the scoring and ask them what they think. How do you think it was reanimated? Do you think the lightning storm or the spirit you said?
yeah. So I think the whole thing with the house is, well, at least this is what I thought at the time. What this thing is going for is like trapping souls in
Mm,
this like property. And I don't know why. I don't think it's necessarily like explained very well, but that's the idea. And so like anything that has like died there is just sort of stuck there. And that's not just limited to people.
I
It
see.
would include the animals that Todd's grandfather has taxidermied,
Taxidermied, yeah.
presumably.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's my theory.
Well, stay tuned for deliberations later. Indy is desperate to get inside the house to help Todd, and he has no choice but to go through the open cellar door to the basement, where he finds Bandit's skeleton. Oh,
Can we talk really quickly about how he escapes the doghouse? Because it's kind of ridiculous.
please, because I was not clear on what was happening in the action, and frankly, I did not feel like rewinding to figure it out.
The way I interpreted it, and this was one of two scenes that I rewound just so I could see what happened. And he backs up, right? The
Hmm.
entity is trying to pull him in through the choke chain into the doghouse. And Indy, like backing up in the process, creates some tension between the chain and the doghouse. And then he just like full fucking super dog, like head on sprints into the doghouse, dives through it, ripping the
Oh.
doghouse out of the ground and pulling the anchor point of the chain up with it. So I guess I can buy it. Like, that's a thing. Like when people are in moments of great distress, they get these kind of like superhuman powers almost.
Hmm.
Same thing with him, like the dog jumping out the window. It was like a closed window, by the way, just like pane of glass.
Hmm.
So I think that's like kind of his adrenal sort of surge. But it was a little ridiculous at the moment. I wasn't you're not alone. I was taken aback too. I had no idea like what happened.
I'm glad that you went back and clarified so that I didn't have to. In the house now, Todd is lying in bed, struggling to breathe. He then sees muddy footprints approach his bed and a shadowy figure in the doorway. He begins to freak out, but is comforted when Indy runs to him. Todd hugs Indy gratefully and apologizes to him, but their heartfelt reunion is cut short when Todd sees his own body lying on the bed, dead. Dun
Dead.
dun
So dead.
dun.
Super
What a
dead, Todd.
twist.
Yeah, so this is where I think the trapping souls in the house is it's got a little bit of teeth here,
Mm.
right? I think it's a point for the fox being a reanimated thing.
You can have that as exhibit B for your Fox argument.
Thank you. Just want my day in court like
Yeah.
anybody else.
I really liked this twist, if you want to call it that, actually, because I thought it was very bold to pull a sixth sense, which is perhaps the best twist in all of cinema history, and to be like, he was dead. But I think the reason why it works again here is because it's not that he was dead the whole time. It's
Mhm.
just that he was dead for like the last scene. And
Yeah.
I liked this too because as soon as Todd saw the footprints approaching his bed and saw the shadow figure, I thought, well, why can he see the shadow figure now? And the answer is because he's dead. So he can now see everything that Indy has been seeing this whole time.
But Indy's not dead.
No, but Indy is the little boy in the Sixth Sense, and he can see dead people.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
He is the Haley Joel Osment in this situation.
But a better actor.
I almost reflexively agreed with you, but I'm not sure.
He's okay in Happy Gilmore 2. Happy Gilmore 2 is surprisingly tolerable. It's still not especially good, but
I actually really enjoyed him in recent seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. He's a very funny comedic actor, actually.
Yeah, I'm being mean to him. I actually have no gripes with Haley Joel Osment.
How dare. Okay, so it's at this point that I feel like, and I actually feel like I should have caught on sooner. So the entity this whole time has been death. Yes? It's been the Grim Reaper.
I still don't know.
Okay, so it's at this point when I think what the movie is trying to say is that this entire time, the shadow figure, the mud figure, it has not in fact been a malevolent spirit. It has simply been death. Ever since the first scene in the movie, when it seems like Todd's illness has really taken hold, he's coughing blood. From the very first scene, that's when Indy starts to sense death encroaching upon Todd.
Huh.
And he can see it coming this entire time.
Got it. Yeah, I guess I can ride with that a little bit. But it does, I don't know, why all of the buildup around like the house being cursed?
Yes. So to that point, I do think that the spirit or the entity is meant to be death, the Grim Reaper. But to speak to what you just said, I do think it makes the story quite incoherent when you look at all the previous actions in the movie. Sure. Because then it's like, well, what was Bandit's intention through showing Indy all of these visions? If Bandit knew it was death, then why even show Indy these things? Does he think that Indy is capable of stopping death? Does he think that Indy can defeat the Grim Reaper? I don't think so, And yes, I'll have a list of questions to get to at the very end of this movie, I think, that remain unanswered even in the final scenes of this movie.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's, my best guess is that this is all kind of secondary to Leonberg. I think like the focus is on the concept, like constructing a film around Indy as a point of view character. Yes. There's quite a bit of homage, and he plays with like some pretty standard tropes, but I do believe that like the story, any sort of like narrative, like moral or fable payoff is like not important in the context of what he was trying to do, which was like more technically focused. But yeah, I do think there is something like kind of curious there. Like let's say it is death. And you have Bandit sort of reaching out from beyond the grave. First of all, it begs the question of like, why does death have like, why does it have it out for the dog so much? But there is something about like the innocence of a dog not exactly knowing what death is, and like being hopeful that like this other dog that he knows can see it can somehow intervene, and so maybe that's why he's reaching out to Indy. I think you could maybe go that way.
So that was my interpretation when watching the movie, and then after watching the movie, I did seek out some interviews with Leonberg, and he did say that his intention was that this was an embodiment of the Grim Reaper.
Oh, okay.
But I'm a strong believer in the author's dead concept. So
death of the author. Yeah.
There are plenty of interpretations, but exactly what you said, a dog doesn't really have a clear concept of death. And that's almost exactly what Leonberg said. He said, Indy is the point of view character. This isn't a human's conception of a Grim Reaper. We think of the Grim Reaper as a skeleton with a scythe because those symbols mean something to us and play on our anxieties. The worst thing that Indy can imagine is his human getting taken away from him, so his Grim Reaper is more organic. I heard this story once that when dogs are sick or animals are dying, they'll go down and find wet places in the forest in the mud and go lay down and die. Maybe for a dog, a specter of death would be this grim biological force.
Oh, interesting.
So I think you hit the nail on the head with what you were saying about like, well, perhaps this is a dog's conception of what death is.
Yeah, good catch for you.
All right, so the Shadow Man, or should we say the Grim Reaper, violently drags Todd's spirit downstairs with the chain, where Indy follows them to a dark, ominous tunnel in the basement. Indy tries to pull Todd free, but it's too late.
So this was the other scene I rewound
Okay,
because there
yes.
is there is a moment where Indy pulls Todd out of the precipice of this cave, which I
Hmm.
suppose is just the portal to the next life.
To question mark? I'm like, this seems awfully violent if Todd is going to a heaven type place, you
Yeah,
know? I'm
death
like,
is fucked up, man.
are we to believe that he's going to hell, to the underworld? Like, is this the message of the movie?
Oh man, I couldn't deal with that. If this thing was trying to take Indy to hell,
Yeah.
I would burn some things down. But yeah, I think because it's not really clear how he gets Todd out of like the gaping maw of the netherworld, whatever it is. And I rewatched it, and I think what they were going for was Todd grabs Indy by the collar, and
Mm.
Indy kind of backs up. At first, it looks like Indy grabs his shirt sleeve and tries to pull him, and maybe he does, but it just wasn't. It didn't shoot as clean as I would have liked.
Yeah, never good when a movie unintentionally takes you out of the action because you're confused. Never good when that happens.
Totally.
The mud subsumes Todd, and before Indy's eyes, Todd decays into skeletal remains as his spirit is pulled into the tunnel and into the afterlife. But before he disappears, he says, "You're a good dog, but you can't save me." Oh.
Oh,
This made me
yeah.
really sad, actually. And I was a little mad that it made me sad because I feel like it's just cheating to pull on the audience's heartstrings by having a sad dog in distress when its owner dies.
Yeah, and just give you a flicker of hope, and then yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're being realistic, when he says Indy can't save him, it's like, well, I guess the context that you're introducing here about this being death, it's like, well, yeah, obviously you don't get to escape death,
Hmm.
but also, and like no shade on Indy, he's very cute, very clearly a good dog, loyal to his owner, well trained despite no formal acting classes. On balance, is he not really that helpful? He doesn't do a whole lot, you
I
know.
agree 1000%. This was actually a big problem I had with the film. And I think another place where the premise of the dog POV falls apart is that, in my opinion, the best protagonist, the most interesting protagonist, is a proactive protagonist, a character that takes action and
Hmm.
affects change in the story. And a dog is a very reactive protagonist. He is
Right.
just reacting to what happens to him. And sure, that's believable because what is a normal mortal dog to do, right?
Rip its guts out like the bear in the painting.
But yeah, so ultimately we get a rather passive main character in the movie who is unable to do anything, which makes for a unsatisfying narrative in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. But that said, again, I don't care what Leonberg is saying in these other interviews. Like, I do believe that is secondary to just him trying to execute what he was trying to do. And I think he pulls it off.
Yes.
I felt like perfectly reasonably entertained watching this cute dog run around for 70 minutes,
Oh, yes.
just reacting to a bunch of spooky things that he was seeing. So yeah, it's a little bit unsatisfying, but I don't fault the film as much as I would if it wasn't like a concept piece like this one.
If it wasn't pulled off technically well,
Right.
if it didn't have other saving graces, then yes, it would have been deeply unsatisfying.
Yeah, agreed.
But yes, Indy loyally stays by the entrance to the dark tunnel, even when a grief stricken Vera comes to retrieve him. Indy is torn between going to Vera and following Todd into the unknown. He can hear Todd whistling to him, beckoning him from within the tunnel. But after some hesitation, Indy runs up the stairs and away from the house. The end.
Yeah, he was done with that ship. No more death stuff.
Yeah, and like all good boys, he gets a car ride out of it in the end.
Yeah, good for him. And hopefully lots of treats. So it did leave me wondering what happened to Bandit. Like, did Bandit find
Yes,
himself in a similar situation and was just like, I'm gonna stay here. My owner was here, and then he just dies in the basement? Because that's pretty devastating.
that is my best guess.
Poor Bandit.
Tragic. Yeah, this reminds me strongly of a real life dog, Hachiko, who has his own
Yeah,
statue in Japan because
just
he
waiting at
loyally
the
waited
subway.
for,
Yeah.
yeah, loyally waited for his owner who never returned. Ah, I'm going to cry.
No statues for Bandit.
Oh, yeah, poor Bandit. It wasn't meant to be funny, obviously, but I did think it was a little funny that the bandana was still on the corpse, like, in
Yeah.
case you didn't get it, this is Bandit.
Yeah. Otherwise, it could have been any dog.
It could have been any dog.
And so why this house? Why like this family? Why is death like why does it make a little nest and like a little cave to drag people away? Why can't it just, why can't it just chill the fuck out and just like, let people die, right? Why there?
That's a good question. If this is death's only way of bringing people to the afterlife, does that mean that there are tunnels like this peppered everywhere? And every time you see your dog looking into the corner of the room mysteriously is because there's a death tunnel nearby somewhere?
Well, I guess we'll find out, won't we?
I think that this twist, if you want to call it that, could have worked better. I guess if it weren't so textual that Todd was sick, because I guess it's not a surprise at all, really, that he dies. We know that he is gravely ill. And so then it's not really any sort of like real foreshadowing that Vera is talking about, oh, dogs can sense illness. It's like, yeah, we already know that Todd's sick. Like, that's no secret, But then I don't know how you would communicate that this entity was illness and death all along. I don't know. It was, the narrative was a little bit messy, I thought.
Yeah. But again, I don't care. Like Indy is enough to carry this movie. It's worth a watch for Indy alone.
I really agree with that. As you said, the director executed his idea. He wanted to make a horror movie starring a dog. He did exactly that. The runtime was short enough that I believe the premise was
Very smart
sustained.
move.
Yes.
Very smart decision.
That being said, there were some pacing issues, kind of like I mentioned. I feel like the ratcheting up of danger could have been a little bit clearer, a little bit more linear. I also felt it started to sag a little bit pacing wise in the middle, even though it was a rather short movie. But right when I found myself starting to get bored, then that's when the action did start to like kick up a little bit. He did also say that he wanted to really focus on action. So that certainly was a big part of it as well. Not so much dialogue, because obviously it's a dog as the main character. There's not going to be a lot of dialogue when that is involved. In fact, before I saw the movie, I wondered if there was going to be any dialogue at all. I thought it might be a little bit more art piecey and just, purely have a dog and like the Charlie Brown teacher, like, wah, 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 Indy, wah, wah, wah.
You think that would have made it better if you didn't
No,
hear
I don't
humans
think that would have
talking
made
about-
it better.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you mentioned the hospital scene, and that was exactly where I I had the same impression. Like,
Yes.
I wish I got a little bit more human on human here so I could just understand what the fuck is going on a little bit better.
Yes, I do feel like in a lot of ways this film leaned a bit film school, leaned a bit amateur. Again, it was his first feature-length film. I think that it shows a little bit. And if they had chosen to not have any human dialogue at all, then I think that would have been way too film school.
It would have been too much. You're right. You're right. And yeah, I mean, it is a low budget movie. I'm glad it's having some commercial success.
Yes,
I
me
think this is a very imaginative idea. I think technically it was well executed.
Yes.
And I hope he gets some more shots at some bigger productions and he can put that creativity to some better funded use.
Yeah, I do think this is a clever enough movie that I'm very glad that he got this break, and I would be happy to see more from him, certainly. As you said, very technically well done movie, very interesting atmospheric visuals. I'm always a little bit harder on horror movies if they don't scare me, and this movie I did not find scary at all. In fact, it was a bit silly, as you said, in moments. It was kind of laughable instead of scary. But I enjoyed it. I think that it was a fun play on genre conventions, and I applaud him for it.
Totally. I'm just upset that we didn't get to see Indy violently rip some sort of monster apart.
That would have been way more satisfying, for sure.
That would have been way more satisfying. Way more satisfying.
So, do you think that your adorable cat would try to save you from death?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially if Death had one of those little tube treats in his hands.
Well, I was just going to say, but what if you were holding Churu in your hands as you were being dragged to death?
What'd you call it? Churu?
That's the brand I get for my cats.
Oh, I just get.
Churu.
Oh, that's very on brand for you. That's like some
It's the
some like
Japanese
some like
version.
artisanal
Yes,
Japanese.
of
Yeah, cat
course.
yeah, yeah. It's very meg, very meg. No, I get whatever Friskies, Delectables. It's probably not even food. It's probably just like
Cardboard paste.
yeah, and then like duck feet or something.
I mean, I agree. It probably all comes down to who is holding the meat treat, right? Is it you or Death
100%.
holding the meat treat?
100%. Do you think your cats would save you from death?
Same answer. Depends on who's got the meat treat. If I'm holding the churu, they will try their darndest to save me for sure.
Okay, good to know. I don't think Jackpot would save me even if I had the treat. I think he would just desperately try to extricate the treat from my hands and then let death have its way with me. So he could eat his treat in peace.
Classic cat behavior.
Yep.
Okay, that's going to do it for our discussion of Good Boy. Now it's time to play the game and find out who won.
Let's do it.
The first guess was yours, Chekhov's TV static. I thought it was a great guess. You were thinking about what's going to happen within the horror genre, but unfortunately, it did not have a payoff.
I don't know how you cite Poltergeist as the inspiration for your film and you don't make the TV a portal to hell. It's just a miss on his part.
It did have a portal to hell, question mark. But no, it wasn't the TV. Yeah,
Disappointing.
very disappointing.
Nice homage, though. Nice
It was
homage,
a good
though. I'm
homage.
sure that was intentional.
Maybe there's a little clown toy Easter egg somewhere in this movie that we didn't see.
I hope not.
Our next Chekhov's whatever was my guess, Chekhov's ghost dog. Good old Bandit, the golden retriever. That did have a payoff. He was pretty important to this movie. I'm going to give myself points for that one.
Well played. Well played.
Thank you. Speaking of well played, our next guess, we both guessed Chekhov's basement.
Yeah.
And you hit that one exactly on the head. You got it perfectly.
Yeah, it was a scattershot strategy. I created 3 possible habitats for the evil entity. One of them was bound to be right.
The spaghetti at the wall strategy. I love
That's
it.
right.
Full points to you for that.
Thank you.
Next was Chekhov's old home movies. Sadly, no, that wasn't anything.
They came up a lot, though. There's a lot of TV and old home movie watching in this film.
Something that I think was maybe interesting if it was intentional is that the grandfather's face was never obscured in the videos. And looking back on that, I thought, is that because he was dead the whole time? So therefore Indy could see him clearly on the
Maybe
other side.
there.
Yeah, maybe.
You should send him an email or something. Tell him about the show because I don't think he's so big at this point that he wouldn't answer.
I don't think Indy can read emails.
No.
I know what you meant.
I wish Indy could read emails. No. You know what? You should write him an email too.
I'll write Indy an email too, and also Mr. Leonberg.
Mark.
All right, this is our contentious one. You guessed Chekhov's taxidermy fox.
Yeah. And a fox definitely shows up in the third act.
It does.
It seems like it's an apparition of some sort. And so I think there is an argument to be made that this is the reanimated fox that is coming from Todd's grandfather's house.
Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Oh, please, Meg.
Do you remember the scene when they first meet the neighbor out in the woods?
I do.
Do you remember that there are the glowing eyes in the log that Indy glimpses?
I do.
So if that were the reanimated taxidermy fox, what was it doing in the woods away from the house? Because you said the house was holding on to souls, so that couldn't have been the taxidermy fox.
Well, maybe it's a whole property because it's the graveyard.
The graveyard did belong to the family. Okay.
No, you know what? It's a continuity edit. You know, he's a new filmmaker. He probably screwed up. It probably wasn't supposed to be in the film.
Another test I have for Chekhov's guns sometimes is if you removed the element from the movie, would the movie change in any sort of consequential way?
No, but you could say that about like 60% of this film, I think.
That's true. That's not fair. Okay. All right, counselor. I will give you, for your chutzpah, partial points.
That's fair. That's fair. Because I mean, to be clear, I did say that Indy was going to fight this fox, and that never happened. I just really, really wanted Indy to fight something, and he never really did. That's too bad.
The director said there was going to be action in this movie. We did not get to see Indy kick ass ever.
No, we did not. Frankly, I don't know that Indy had it in him. He seemed like too sweet of a dog, to be honest.
That's true. Very gentle soul.
Very good dog. Good boy.
Next, we both guessed Chekhov's fox traps. Go us.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, you guessed exactly in your initial guess.
And
let's go with your gut feeling. You said that Indy would get caught in this fox trap.
It was kind of you. You were a benevolent judge of your own game that you invented. If it were my show, I would just change the rules based on whatever is going to benefit me in the moment. So I commend you for your being impartial.
I try to be.
But you get some points for that too, right? Because you picked
I
the
do.
function. Yeah.
Yes, I'm giving myself partial points for that. Next is Chekhov's graveyard.
And that was a great guess.
I think it's a very good guess. It's very in line with the horror genre. But yeah, no payoff.
Bummer.
Also, sadly, no Chekhov's plants. There were no plant booby traps in the home.
Yeah, that was a punt on my part. It was just, I don't know what I was thinking. I was just so desperate for Indy to have a fight.
I would like to see the fight as imagined by Ryan Hanna.
Oh, God.
And finally, Chekhov's choke chain, which Death did use to drag Todd to the afterlife. So I will be granting you partial points for that one.
Indy did not use it to, again, have this fight that never happened with this evil entity, which we now understand is Death.
Yes, if we are to take the director at face value, which I will choose to do, yes.
Fair enough.
All right, if you'll give me just a moment to calculate the points. Beep, boop, beep. All right, I had a grand total of 6 points, and Ryan, you have eked out a win with a grand total of 7 points. Congratulations.
Yeah, take that, coming out of the gate. Get fucked, nerds. I win.
Very good job. Ryan, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I had a great time.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, it was a blast.
I would love to have you on again, but in the meantime, is there anywhere the listeners can find you online or any parting thoughts?
Not really anywhere to find me online. At least that's interesting. But if you're on Steam, my gamer tag, especially if you play Dota 2, is Rhino the Creator.
Oh.
Same name on Instagram. I don't think I posted anything in like 2 years. But incidentally, when I was contributing to my Instagram page, it was exclusively pictures of dogs and cats that I found on my runs. So I think we're coming full circle here.
Great content. Yes.
Great content. When in doubt, just put a dog in it.
Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you are enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe on YouTube. That really helps me out. And if you're already listening on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me about your pet and what you thought about this movie. And until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chekhov's Whatever. Go to chekhovswhatever.substack.com to follow along with the podcast. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and leave a positive review. You can also find video clips and full audio episodes on YouTube, so be sure to like and subscribe at Chekhov's Whatever. And finally, you can send email to chekhovswhateverpodcast@gmail.com. All right, let's end this show with a bang.